Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God. From heaven above with wisdom.
Welcome to our online Messy Thursday. We are so pleased to see you here. It's Mini Messy Church with all the ingredients you love in a bite-sized service. So let's find out what's coming up today. We'll have songs, story time, an activity to share. We'll be making tea as well, so you can share in that too. And you can send your comments in and pictures of what you've been doing. And if you're watching this later, make sure you watch it on YouTube, because then they won't mute all our songs. So I'm going to welcome Catherine, who's cooking for us this week. Catherine, hello.
Chris, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, on this rather soggy afternoon.
It's great to see you. What did you do last week? Because I missed last week's.
Last week we made potato and cheese pie.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Rather delicious, and by Ernest helped us. Really good.
Lovely. And what are you cooking today?
So this week, our story, as we'll learn in a little while, is about testing and how Joseph tested his brothers. So he did that, without spoiling the story. It's something to do with hiding something, and we'll find out about that. So I wanted a recipe that linked us with that. So I'm going to be hiding Rolos in cupcakes today. So we're making hidden Rolo cupcakes.
And what are we going to need for that? So people can get it.
What we need is some softened marge or butter, so 6 ounces of those. And I think actually, again, so that we get them in the oven, what I might do is show you what I'm using as we go along. So we've got 6 ounces of softened butter or marge, and then I've got 6 ounces of caster sugar here. I'm just going to pop that in. Oh, if I can get the cover off. 6 ounces of caster sugar going in there. And then I've got 5 ounces of self-raising flour. Now, as one of my family is celiac, I'm actually doing this with gluten-free flour today, gluten-free self-raising flour, but it's exactly the same recipe. So I'm just putting 5 ounces of self-raising flour in, like that. And then to make these chocolate cupcakes, to go with our chocolate Rolos, I'm adding an ounce of cocoa powder. And I'm moving on, my most important person. Bron is helping me today. Bron,
Bronte. Shall we see Bronte? Is she coming on to see us? Hello, Bronte. How are you?
Hi, Bron. How are you?
I'm good.
Excellent. And I think you'd already weighed all your ingredients out in advance for today, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm just putting it in, but it doesn't matter which order.
It doesn't matter which order at all. No.
Okay.
The good thing with this, we just pop everything in, and then we're going to give it a whiz in a minute. So I've got as far as having my butter and my sugar and my flour and my cocoa in the bowl, and I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking powder, and that will help us to get beautifully risen cupcakes. So I'll just put that in.
The butter isn't coming out the bowl.
Oh no! Have you got a spoon that you can scoop it out with?
Just managed to do it.
Oh, well done. So tell us what you put in.
This is fun.
Excellent. And now I'm going to add into my mix 3 eggs. I'm going to break those on the side, and you could break these before and whisk them up if you want to before you add them. If you're fine breaking the eggs, it's not that easy, so we can whop those into our mixture like that, and our 3rd egg like that. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit today, so that we can speed up our mixing. I'm going to put all of this and use the electric mixer to mix it up. And I think, Bron, you've got an electric mixer there as well, haven't you?
Yeah. Catherine?
Yes, sweetheart.
Do you put milk in?
We're going to put a little bit of milk in now. Yeah, you want just about a tablespoon. It's just enough to sort of loosen our mixture a little bit. So I do it a little bit by eye. So I've just popped that in. So I've got all the things except the Rolos in my bowl. And now I'm going to give that a whiz for a couple of minutes in the electric mixer, which is probably going to be a little bit noisy. So I apologise for that. We're going to give it a couple of minutes of whizzing. And I think, Bron, are you nearly at the point of whizzing yours as well?
I'm using electric mixer.
So we'll put it in like that. And we'll give it a whiz. Hoping it will go everywhere. Tiny bit more milk. So we're going to whiz that for a couple of moments, and then I'm going to turn that off a minute while I just tell you that you need a muffin tray. And put your cup cases into your muffin tray. And then when your mixture has whizzed, you want to put half the mixture across your 12 muffin cases. Okay? How are you doing, Bron? How are you getting on? I'm going to whiz mine a bit more. If it starts to stick up the sides of the bowl a bit, you might want to stop it and give it a bit of a scoop round, so that you get.
Well, that's fantastic, Catherine and Bronte. We're going to go to our song and let you carry on, and then we'll come back and see you in a little while. Our first song is called "Love the Lord," and it's one that we're growing to love. It's a super song. We'll share it now.
With
What a great song. And I hope you did some actions. I hope you got really low, and I hope you jumped up high. Lovely to see Martin Riddett joining us, and welcome. And I wonder who you'd save your last Rolo for. Remember that advertisement? We're going to go for our story time now, which is going to be told by Sally, and I'm going to welcome Sally onto screen. Hello, Sally.
Hi.
Who would you save your last Rolo for?
I don't eat Rolos.
Oh, you're so good.
If I had, I might give them to my grandchildren.
That's wonderful.
If they were behaving nicely.
Didn't we see them last week?
Oh, don't. I am so embarrassed.
I love them getting a telling off in the middle of the story. It was fantastic.
I know. Talk about the school mom in me came out there. Oh,
Definitely.
dear. They'd been so good the rest of the time. They'd been so good, and suddenly they were just behaving like little scallywags.
Well, it's wonderful to see them, and it was lovely to see them. And
Yes.
how lovely to be with you. I know that today the story is quite a long story, but it's really exciting. So
Yes.
I want to hand over to you to share the story of Joseph and his brothers in Egypt.
Good. Right. Okay, off we go. So just let's remind ourselves that last week we left Egypt with a famine, and the famine had spread to all the other countries around Egypt. Now, one of those countries was where Joseph's father, Jacob, and all his brothers lived. Now, this is the exciting part. When Jacob heard there was food in Egypt, he sent his sons there to buy food, but not his youngest son, Benjamin. He was afraid something might happen to him. When Joseph's brothers arrived, he recognized them immediately, but they did not recognize him. The next 3 days were very difficult for them because Joseph decided to test them. He accused them of being spies. They told him they only wanted to buy food for their families, that they were brothers, the same sons of one man, that one of their brothers was dead, and that their youngest brother was with their father. He even put them into prison for 3 days, but then said he would let them go back to their father with the food they had come to buy, but one brother must stay in Egypt until they returned with the youngest brother. They started talking between themselves about what they had done so many years ago to Joseph. Now we are paying for what we did to our brother. We saw how terrified he was when he was begging us for mercy. We wouldn't listen to him, and now we're the ones in trouble. They didn't know Joseph could understand their language. What he heard made him feel very emotional. Joseph kept Simeon in prison and sent them all back with their sacks filled with grain. He ordered their money to be put back into each sack and to be given enough rations for the journey. When they stopped for the night, one of them opened his sack to get food for his donkey, and he saw his money in the sack. When he told his brothers, they were frightened and they didn't know what to think. Back in Canaan, they told Jacob about everything that had happened, and then all of them discovered all their money had been returned to them. Jacob was really upset that Simeon was now in prison in Egypt, and if Simeon was to be returned, Benjamin must go to Egypt. Jacob was still grieving the loss of Joseph so many years ago and refused to let them take Benjamin to Egypt. When they had eaten all the food, Jacob said, "Go back and get some more food." Judah said, "The man warned us most emphatically. If we did not bring Benjamin with us, we would get nothing from him." Jacob said, "Well, why did you ever tell the man you had another brother?" But Judah promised to take the responsibility of keeping Benjamin safe. So Jacob told his sons to take fine gifts and plenty of money and to pay back double what had been returned in their sacks on the first trip. When they got back to Egypt and Joseph saw them, he told his steward to invite them into the house and prepare a feast for all of them. When the brothers were taken into Joseph's house, they spoke to the steward and told him about the money they had found after they returned from the first trip, and they were now worried that they were being brought into the house to be kept as slaves. And the steward said, "Don't worry, all is well." And he brought Simeon to them. When Joseph got home, he welcomed them and said, "And your old father, whom you mentioned to me, how is he? Is he still alive?" And they said, "Yes, he is well and very much alive." When Joseph saw his younger brother Benjamin, he almost burst into tears. So he hurried to another room and had a good cry. And then he washed his face, composed himself, and said, "Let's eat." They enjoyed the feast and one another's company. The brothers, of course, had no idea it was Joseph, their own brother. They were quite puzzled because after all the good treatment they were receiving, they were invited to spend the night in the house of this man who was in charge of all Egypt. Joseph commanded his servants to fill their sacks with as much food as they could carry, and once again to put the money back into each one's sack. Then he told them to put his own silver cup into Benjamin's sack. In the morning, all the brothers set off for home. Joseph told one of his servants, "When they are just outside the city, go after them and speak harshly to them and ask why they rewarded my goodness to them with evil. Ask why they stole my special silver cup." When the servant caught up with them and accused them of stealing, the brothers were really frightened and protested, but we returned the money that we found in our sacks, and we have no idea what you mean about a silver cup. None of us would dare to steal from the ruler, especially after the kindness he has shown to us. If you find the silver cup in our supplies, then we will all be slaves in the ruler's house." "All right," said the servant. "It shall be just as you say, except that only the person who has the silver cup will return to the ruler and become his slave. The rest of you will be allowed to return home." When the servant searched through Benjamin's belongings and found the silver cup in the top of his bag, Benjamin tried his best to defend himself. "I didn't take it. I didn't put it there," he exclaimed. "I don't know how it ended up in my bag. Honestly, I am telling the truth." They were all very scared about what might happen next. So, when they got back to Joseph's house, Judah spoke up. May I have a word with you in private?" he asked. I know that you are second in command and no one is greater than you except Pharaoh. Please don't be angry with us. Remember when we first came to you, you asked about our father and asked if we had another brother, and you made us bring him to you. We told you that we couldn't bring him because his father would be grief-stricken if anything would have happened to him. But you wouldn't let us buy food unless we brought him. We did, as you required. We brought him to see you. And now this trouble has come upon us. If we go home without him, our father, who is very old and loves Benjamin very much, will surely die of grief. Please, please, for our father's sake, take me as a slave instead of Benjamin," Judah pleaded. Joseph was overcome with emotion and could not constrain himself any longer. He saw how the brothers had changed over the years and were no longer hateful. He saw the love they had for his father and for his youngest brother, and he began to weep openly. He commanded his servants, "Everyone, please leave the room. Leave me alone with these men." The servants left the room. Joseph was crying so loudly he could be heard in the next room. Finally, Joseph spoke to his brothers. "I am Joseph, your brother." All his brothers were astonished and could not speak. And now you're going to have to wait until next week to find out what happens in the end.
God, what a cliff edge, what a suspenseful story.
Yeah.
I wonder why Joseph acted as if he didn't recognize his brothers. And I wonder why he treated him that way.
I don't know, Chris. I honestly, I've thought about this a lot, and I don't know. I
Do you know,
couldn't do it.
No, but I wonder if he wanted to find out whether they had changed. I
Maybe.
wonder if that's what the test. He must have been very tempted just to throw them into prison and leave them there.
Well, what puzzled me was the time span. The test he gave them, if you like. I mean, how long would it take before they would come back? And would they come back?
Yeah. Well, it's a really tough one, isn't it? But do you know, the thing that I take from it is that he did actually forgive them. And I thought that was amazing because he
Yes.
could have just been really bitter by everything that had happened.
Absolutely, yes. I wonder if what he'd been through in Egypt had changed him as well.
Yeah. Because actually, do you remember in the first times we read the story, he was a bit of a show off, wasn't he, with his special coat?
He absolutely was, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that wonderful story.
You're welcome.
And we've got some interesting things to think about. We'll have thinking time later on.
Yep.
And I know that Mark's going to chat to us about that too. But it's time now to return to Catherine's kitchen to see how things are going on over there. So let's go and visit Catherine. Hello, Catherine.
Hi. Well, we carried on, and I'm hoping Bron is there, and she carried on with her baking. And we've hidden our Rolos. Have you hidden your Rolos, Bron?
Yeah. Oh, they're in the oven.
Fantastic.
They're in the oven.
So we hid our Rolos in our mixture and then put the rest of the mixture on top, and then we put them in the oven. So we'll just come across to the oven and you can have a little look at how they're getting on in the oven, and then we'll...
Lovely.
There we go. You follow us across. So
Oh, look at that.
they're leveling off, and they're starting, well, hopefully they're not leveling off. Hopefully they're starting to rise. And we've put them in an oven at 160 degrees. And we'll leave them there for about 15 to 20 minutes until they're risen and they're sort of rebound when we touch them lightly. So I'm sure you'll come back to us in a bit.
We will.
They're perfect, and see if anyone can find the hidden rodents.
Wonderful. And Bronte, I really like your apron. It's absolutely smart. Is it a new one?
Yeah, I think. I don't know. Got chocolate all down it now.
Oh no. Thank you all. We're going to come back because now we're going to go to Violet for our activity time, and we're going to find out more about what she's going to make for us.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Very good. Fantastic, thank you. Now, what did you think of that story?
It's quite like emotional, I think. Like how much they've changed, the brothers.
Yeah. And he found it very emotional. He wept quite a lot, didn't he? He kept on bursting into tears.
Yeah.
He hadn't seen his family for so many years. It must have been a big thing.
And if I saw like my brothers just like come to me and I hadn't seen them for so long, I'd want to tell them straight away I was their brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what have you got to show us how to make today?
Well, we are doing some fortune tellers.
What, those ones? Did it pick your favourite number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're linked, so they've got the colours of Joseph's coat.
Okay, what colours? Red and green and blue and purple and...
Yeah, I think I did red, yellow, green and blue, but you can do any colours.
Yeah.
And then there's the names of everyone Joseph met along the way. So there's Potiphar, there's the Pharaoh, there's his brothers, the cupbearer.
Fantastic.
On the middle, there's, well, I'll leave you to find out what's in the middle.
Yeah, it's got to be a surprise. Let's watch and see. Thank you.
In today's story, Joseph was testing whether his brothers had changed. And so in our activity, we are going to be testing whether the people we are playing with can find the silver goblet in these fortune tellers. To make your very own fortune teller, you will need some paper or card, some 4 bright and colourful pens of different colours, a pair of scissors, and a pen or pencil to write with. First, what we are going to do is take our paper and our scissors. We won't need the pens or your pencil and writing pen yet. What we are going to do to make a square, we are going to take this corner and fold it across until it meets the side and it is straight along this edge of the paper. Now we're going to cut along the line where the folded paper meets this small little rectangle here. There. We won't need our scissors again, and we won't need this piece of paper again either, so they can go to the side. So, we've got our triangle, and then if you fold it open, you should see you've got a square. For this part, you could use origami paper if you'd like, but it's okay to use just card and make the square that way as well. So now we are going to fold in the corners of the square into the centre crease, there, like so. There, so all mine are done, and I've got a square. Now we're going to turn the square over to the side where it's just flat and smooth. And we're going to do the same for this one. There. Mine are all done, and I've got a square again. And so what we're going to do is we are going to fold it over in half. You can do it that way, or you can do it that way, or that way, or that way. Doesn't matter. And we're going to fold it like so. And then you should have a small rectangle with squares that open out like flaps on each side. And what we're going to do next, which I find the trickiest part, is we're going to put our index finger in that one, in that front flap, and our thumb in that flap, and then do the same on this side. And then we're just going to sort of push them into the middle and make sure you get all the little crumbles and creases out, and you should have this shape. Okay, now what we're going to do is take your pens. So you need 4 colours for this, and we're going to draw just little squiggles, or you can write on there if you would like, of the colour on there to represent the different colours of Joseph's coat. that his father gave to him before he got sold as a slave. So just a little squiggle like that, or it doesn't matter as long as you're putting the colour on. So I've chosen to do red, yellow, blue and green, but you can use any to make it your own. So green next for me. And finally blue, and then I'm all done. Okay, so we've got the colours of Joseph's coat, and what we're going to do now, so you can see if you do that, you can see them all, is you're going to open them up, so you've got back to this square again, and you're going to write, so see how there's triangles and then there's sort of a line down the middle. You're going to write on 2 names on each triangle with your writing pen or pencil. So I'm going to do all the people Joseph met along the way. So first of all, Joseph himself. And then I'll do the Pharaoh, and I'm going to check with my spelling on this one. So that is P-H-A-R-A-O-H for Pharaoh. And then I'm going to do Potiphar, I think, which is P-O-T-I-P-H-A-R, and just keep filling these in with different names. So I've finished filling in the names. I put Joseph, Pharaoh, Potiphar, Baker, cupbearer, who Joseph met in the prison, Joseph's father, Potiphar's wife, and Joseph's brothers. Okay, for the next bit, we're going to open out these triangles, and then you see where the crease is? Above that line, otherwise you won't be able to see it, we're going to write just grain in here on 3 of the flaps. Okay, so I've written those on 3 flaps, and then if you would like you can draw some bags of grain on here. So to do that you do a sort of squished O